frozen forests of Finland during the winter of 1939, Soviet soldiers began to die one at a time. There would be a single sharp crack of a rifle somewhere in the frozen air, and another man would simply drop into the snow, dead. No muzzle flash to aim back at. No sign at all of where the shot had come from. Just white snow, black skeletal trees, and death arriving out of nowhere, over and over and over again. The Soviet soldiers grew utterly terrified of an invisible phantom they could never see. They gave him a name that spread through their freezing ranks like a chill down the spine, Belia Smrt, the White Death. Many became convinced they were being hunted by some kind of supernatural ghost of the forest. But the truth was even stranger. He was a small, quiet, unremarkable farmer. And in under 100 days, this one man would kill more than 500 of them. He accomplished it using no telescopic sight at all, just the plain iron sights on an ordinary rifle. He fought in temperatures so brutally cold they could kill an exposed man in hours. And he did it all while defending a tiny nation against one of the largest and most powerful armies on the entire planet. His name was Simo Häyhä. And to understand how one ordinary man became this impossibly deadly, you first have to understand the desperate war that created him. In late 1939, the Soviet Union invaded neighboring Finland. On paper, it was a staggering, almost absurd mismatch. The Soviets had vastly more soldiers, more tanks, more artillery, more aircraft, more of virtually everything that mattered in a war. Their commanders confidently expected the tiny Finnish nation to crumble and surrender within a matter of weeks. Much of the watching world quietly assumed exactly the same grim outcome. But Finland did not crumble. The Finns knew their frozen forests and lakes with an intimacy the invaders could never match, and they fought back with speed, cunning, and a ferocious, almost superhuman determination. Soldiers on skis would come flying out of the tree line, strike hard and fast, and then vanish back into the white wilderness like smoke. And the brutal, punishing cold itself, often far, far below freezing, became a weapon that killed the poorly prepared invaders as surely as any bullet. This was the desperate war that Simo Häyhä stepped into. He was not a career soldier, and he was not some trained sharpshooter fresh out of an elite military academy. He was a farmer and a lifelong hunter, short in stature, calm, humble, and almost completely unremarkable to look at. But he had spent his entire life shooting game in these exact frozen conditions, and that quiet, patient lifetime of practice was about to matter more than anyone could possibly have imagined. Häyhä carried a fairly standard Finnish service rifle, and he made one choice that stunned many other snipers who heard about it. He flatly refused to use a telescopic sight. Most marksmen prize their scopes above almost everything else, believing them essential for long-range accuracy. But Häyhä stubbornly stuck with the simple iron sights on his rifle, and he had two powerful, practical reasons for it that would give him a deadly edge in the snow. A glass scope had two potentially fatal flaws in that frozen environment. In the extreme cold, the lenses could easily fog up or frost over, effectively blinding the shooter at the worst possible moment. And in the low, slanting winter sun, that same glass could catch the light and flash, a tiny, brilliant glint that would betray a hidden sniper's exact position to the enemy in an instant. The humble iron sights had neither of these deadly weaknesses. The iron sights also allowed him to keep his head lower and his overall profile far smaller, making him much harder to spot against the endless white. It demanded truly incredible natural skill, judging distance, drop, and wind entirely by eye and instinct alone, with no magnification to help him. But Häyhä had that rare skill deep in his bones from a lifetime of hunting. Still, the rifle was only one part of his terrible effectiveness. His real weapons were patience, discipline, and the clever way he used the frozen land itself. Haiha turned himself into a living part of the landscape. He wore full white camouflage that erased his outline completely against the snow. He would settle silently into a carefully chosen firing position and simply wait, sometimes for many hours at a stretch, in appalling, bone-cracking cold, utterly motionless, blending so perfectly into the white world around him that to the enemy, there was simply nothing at all to see. He became, in every practical sense, invisible. He mastered all the tiny details that separate a merely good shooter from an unkillable legend. He would pack down the loose snow in front of his firing position, so that the muzzle blast of his rifle would not kick up a betraying cloud of white powder to mark his location. He is even said to have kept snow in his mouth while he waited, so that the warm fog of his own breath would not rise up and give him away in the frozen, still air. From these perfectly hidden nests, he worked with a terrible, patient efficiency, calmly picking off enemy officers, scouts, and ordinary soldiers as they moved through his frozen killing ground. The Soviets could feel him out there somewhere, methodically taking them apart man by man, but no matter what they tried, they could never find him. The gnawing, constant fear he created among their ranks was almost worse than the mounting losses themselves. And so, finally, they decided that the White Death simply had to be destroyed, no matter the cost. The Soviets began throwing everything they had at the invisible sniper haunting their lines. They sent their own trained counter-snipers deep into the forest, men whose only job was to find and kill this one phantom, setting the stage for a lethal, patient duel among the silent, snow-laden trees. But one by one, the specialized hunters they sent to kill Haiha failed at the task, and several of them, it is said, never came back out of that forest at all. When their most skilled individual marksmen could not get the job done, the frustrated Soviets simply escalated the violence. They began calling down entire artillery barges onto any area where they thought the White Death might possibly be hiding, trying to obliterate him from a distance with raw, overwhelming firepower. The forest was shattered and torn apart by the shelling. And still, somehow, impossibly, Haiha survived it and kept right on fighting. In just over 3 months of that bitter winter war, his confirmed and estimated kills climbed past 500, an almost unbelievable, staggering total for such a short span of time, and every bit of it achieved in the depths of the harshest winter conditions imaginable. He had become, without question, the single most feared soldier on the entire front. But a war fought that intensely, that close to the edge, always comes to collect its due in the end. And Simo Haiha's own violent reckoning was drawing very near. In March of 1940, near the very end of the Winter War, it finally happened. An enemy soldier managed to fire back at the right moment, and an explosive round struck Haiha directly in the face, tearing away much of his lower jaw and leaving him horrifically, catastrophically wounded in the snow. The soldiers who rushed to find him were certain that he could not possibly survive such a terrible injury. He was carried off the battlefield unconscious, shattered, and barely alive. But the man they called the White Death simply would not die. He fell into a deep coma and clung stubbornly to life, finally waking, according to the accounts, several days later, right around the very time that the war itself was grinding to its exhausted end. Ahead of him lay a long and painful road of many surgeries and slow recovery, and his face would carry the deep scars of that wound for the rest of his long life. Finland itself survived the war too, bloodied and battered, but crucially unconquered, having stunned the entire watching world by holding off a giant many times its size. Haiha eventually returned to the only life he had ever really wanted, the quiet existence of hunting and farming that he had always known. Years later, when he was asked how on earth he had become so impossibly deadly, he reportedly gave a simple, humble, one-word answer: practice. He lived on to become an old man, modest and unassuming right to the very end, remembered as the deadliest marksman in the entire history of warfare. His story, like the bear and the biplane before it, is a powerful reminder that the most astonishing legends of any war are almost never really about vast armies at all. They're about the single, stubborn, unbreakable human being who simply refused to give up.